Hi monkeys, it's Alexa. Just got back from a great road trip. I went down to LA to the ASCAP EXPO. This is a conference of songwriters. I want to share with you 20 hit songwriting tips that I took away from the expo. These are in no particular order, and this is going to probably be a long video. So I apologize for that, but there was just so much inspiration there. Point number one. Everything takes a long time. I went to a masterclass with Claudia Brant. She's an Argentinian songwriter who was first an artist, and her first 2008 hit was No Me Doy Por Vencido, which was recorded by Luis Fonsi. And now she has a new hit called Creo en Ti por Natalia Jimenez, and you have to see the video. She showed it in the masterclass. It's incredible. It's apocalyptic craziness, and Natalia Jimenez tiene unas piernotas. She's super tall Spanish woman, beautiful, incredible, powerful voice. Anyway, Claudia described how it took 17 years to develop her career and achieve her hits. She's composed for Elivo, Ricky Martin, Santana, Luis Fonsi, Chayanne, Tito Nieves, Olga Tañón, Paulina Rubio, La Ley, Victor Manuel. So she's been all over the map in terms of style. Anyway, she was very inspiring, and I'll talk a little bit about her later. Another person was Kevin Kaddish. He's a songwriter. He wrote All About That Bass with Meghan Trainor, which was a huge hit this last year. And he told a story in one of the panels about how that song came about. That was his first hit, and he was 43. So a lot of people kept on hammering the point home. Everything takes a long time. Collaboration was a huge, huge theme throughout the conference. Put your ego aside and find the best vehicle for your melody or lyrics. Co-writing. So many people, Ingrid Michaelson, many people talked about how co-writing was changing their career and often how they felt like they'd waited far too long to start doing it. And I even thought back to my own songs and remembered that some of my best are the ones that I co-wrote. So the example from Aloe Blacc was writing and performing vocals on Avicii's Wake Me Up, which charted at #1 in 22 countries. You know, wake me up, da, 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 da. So anyway, we got to see him live, singing live. He was amazing. He also interviewed Bill Withers, which was mind-blowingly great. And he really struck me as a worthy successor to Withers, whom he had met for the first time 5 years before at an ASCAP conference, and now has achieved so much more in his own career. But he's a worthy successor because he's got that similar sort of homespun, soulful simplicity. And then, of course, on top of that, he's got just impeccable vocals and a wonderful, gentle charisma. Point 3, go where the music business is. Now, this is a hard one for somebody like me. I don't live in LA, I live in Oakland. This guy, Savan Kotecha, he wrote Ariana Grande's hits. He also wrote Bang Bang for Jessie J. He wrote for One Direction, many other people. He went to Sweden to learn about melodies, and he ended up staying there for a really long time. Ashley Gorley is a great songwriter. He's written huge country hits. He talked about Los Angeles, Atlanta, Nashville, as being just great cities because the people that you meet, the songwriting sessions that you can have, keeps you on sort of a daily pace of creativity and collaboration versus, you know, being in Oakland or South Carolina or wherever else. What happens is, you know, you do something and then you watch TV and roll out of bed, and just the pace of it is slower and the people aren't there. Somebody at the conference, I can't remember who, mentioned, you know, the loss of regionalism. And I met a young rapper, I can't remember his name right now, he was 23 years old, he was really wonderful. And he was from South Carolina. And, you know, you could tell he was a Southerner because he kept on saying, yes, sir, to Darrell Brown, who was doing the song critiques. But, you know, he was from a very small town, and one of the cool things about that is how often are you hearing that in rap? You're hearing urban. You aren't hearing, I'm from rural South Carolina. And that's pretty interesting, even though he wasn't playing that up in his rap, but why not? Point number 4, stand up for songwriters. Support the Songwriters Equity Act. Paul Williams is the president of ASCAP. He's also the guy who wrote Rainbow Connection and a bunch of other amazing songs. Well, he really put out a strong call to action for us not to be fearful about standing up for what we deserve as creators of intellectual property that the technology companies are using to make money. He mentioned a new lobbying group formed by those so-called innovators. It's called the Mic Coalition, MIC. And it's formed by Google, Apple, Pandora, etc. You know, their argument to Congress basically is, we're innovators because we make technology. Well, Paul Williams' point was, we're innovators too. We're making the song. It's like IHOP saying we don't want to pay for pancake batter. We do have a new friend, according to Paul Williams, in the head of the U.S. Copyright Office, Maria Palante. And he recommended a report that she authored, or that the Copyright Office authored, called Copyright and the Music Marketplace. It's on the U.S. Copyright Office website, and I'll put a link to it below so you can read it. Savan Kotecha also said, how come songwriters are the only creatives who aren't allowed to be rewarded by their work? Every time we complain about Spotify or Pandora, we're attacked, but nobody says that about movie stars or screenwriters. But a really important point that he made was that only 2 of the top 20 most streamed songs on Spotify were not written by professional songwriters. So we're kind of an invisible group of people. Obviously, the vast majority of us aren't hit songwriters. I certainly am very, very far from that. But professional songwriting is a real thing, and the product that we make, the creative product that we create, is a real thing. And I think we do deserve the right to stand up for it, to revamp the consent decree that was put into place around 70 years ago. So this is a great issue to research and not be fearful about speaking up on it. Point 5, understand the industry, understand the business, or work with somebody who can help you understand that or take care of it for you, like a publisher. Understand copyright. Watch out for shady practices like retitling works for licensing libraries. Understand what music supervisors do. Richard Marx was one of the speakers. He was fantastic. And he said, I would do this for nothing. I do this because it feeds my soul. But I've made it. And he said, you know, you guys, you got to keep that up. You can't be doing this for other reasons, fame, fortune. We all know those are all too rare. So you guys have to do it for that artistic spirit. Keep that artistic spirit alive, and we'll hopefully take care of the business of getting you rewarded for that. A lot of people were dropping a lot of knowledge, great resources for how to understand what we're doing and be professional about it. And a book that I intend to get is Quincy Jones' Q on Producing. It's a book and DVD, and it was recommended by Def Jam producer No ID, who was super deep, a great guru. Point number 6, perform self A&R. What this means is be honest with yourself. I love how Ashley Gorley put it. Play your songs as if you were playing them for someone else. You know that spot where you get uncomfortable? That's the spot you have to fix. Judy Stakee, and she signed Sheryl Crow and a bunch of other amazing artists, she says she's a mirror to her clients, her songwriter clients. And she said something like, you know, I'll say, you know, you're wearing a purple sock and a yellow sock. That's fine, maybe that's your choice, but I'm just going to be here, this mirror for you, and tell you that's what you're presenting. Point 7, use your PRO, whether it's ASCAP or BMI or CSAC or whatever. Ask them questions. Use them for networking, for grants, for support. Paul Williams put it nicely. He said, this is the most spectacular way to make a living. This is holy work. There is nothing like walking into a room full of musoids. And that's certainly what I felt going there. I have always thought that musicians were my tribe, and now I've discovered that songwriters are my tribe within a tribe. Point 8. I'm going to run out of fingers pretty soon. In any field, you find the ambitious, productive people at conferences. I know this because I spent 10 years as a trade magazine editor. So, you know, I did it myself. You get out, you meet new people, you jam out. There was a songwriters jam that was just marvelous, 2 in fact. One of them was with Hanson, the brothers. They were fantastic, so talented. I did not know. Mike Green, who wrote I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't. The REO Speedwagon guy. Kevin Cronin. I Can't Fight This Feeling. Valerie Simpson. I'm every woman, it's all in me. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I met dozens of songwriters, and I played their CDs on my way home driving up I-5, and I loved them. I met a competitor from The Voice in Australia. I met a woman who sings in Chinese and French. Her name is Jessica Fichot. I met another woman named Fatima, whose mother has written hit songs in Vietnam, and she is Vietnamese American, and so she's re-recording these with English lyrics for the Vietnamese American market. I met a great jazz composer, Lisa Ashman. I met salsa composers, orchestrators. gotta get out. That said, point 9. It's not about going to clubs to hustle. It's about writing songs. So Savan Kotecha, he said, I don't know anyone who's out every night hustling. They're all writing. He said, in fact, I just got a text saying, why aren't you in the studio? And Ashley Gorley similarly was talking about the work ethic in Nashville. You know, he has a team of 10 writers. He was a writer himself, but now he's also done a joint venture. He's a publisher as well. Each of them is writing 1 to 3 songs a day. And Claudia Brant, she was talking about when somebody had sort of altered a song without her permission. She just said, shelve it, I don't need it. I write 5 songs a week, I'm moving on. Yes, you want to be heard, but I like what Bill Withers said about, he quoted Quincy Jones a lot. Quincy Jones said, George Benson spends more time thinking about getting better than thinking about getting over. Point 10, this is the last point with fingers. Do your homework, ask smarter questions. Present yourself well. Don't ramble on with the story of your life. I got frustrated sometimes with the level of the questions from the audience because these were really masterful people, and granted, often I didn't know any better either. I think going to a future conference, I would probably study up on a number of these people and prepare some really good questions for them, because there are details about how songs came about and inspirations that are so interesting. Why waste the opportunity to ask this person a question with something really generic like, how do I succeed? A lot of the questions that I asked, I didn't introduce myself. I figured, it's not about me. However, there was one moment when I did, and it was a moment that counted. I was in the Claudia Brant masterclass, and at the end, when it was question and answer, I did realize, I knew at that moment, this is a good time to introduce myself. So I said, hi, my name's Alexa Morales, and I'm the lead singer with Pacific Mambo Orchestra, and we won a Grammy last year for Tropical Latin Album. And to my surprise, everybody applauded. And then the nice thing, and then I asked her a question about salsa writing. And then at the end, like 4 or 5 people came up to me and were giving me their cards and, talking about collaborations. So obviously that was a key point to do it. Point number 11, believe in yourself. Richard Marx told a story about when he was very, very young, and he had done a demo tape and sent it to Lionel Richie. And then he got a call back to sing backup for Lionel Richie. Well, he said, I've never said this out loud before. He said, I usually just say, what a surprise it was to get this call. He said, but the truth is, I knew he was going to call me. And, a lot of people talked about that belief in things happening. Kevin Cronin from REO Speedwagon told about how Clive Davis, he had gotten an appointment to meet with him, and he goes in and he plays in the demo tape. And Clive Davis is just like, this isn't me, I don't hear it. And so he's leaving this place, and he said a lot of people would have just given up at that point. He said, I walked out of that meeting, and in my mind, there was definitely something wrong with his tape machine. The irony was that on that tape, there were 2 number 1 songs, Can't Fight This Feeling and Time for Me to Fly. Number 12, forgive the analogy, but I didn't bring it up. It was Bill Withers who said this. He said, don't fake the orgasm. A very young person in the audience asked a question of Bill Withers about, she felt like she was doing everything right, but she really wasn't enjoying it. Trying to write, music that was going to be epic and last forever. And he said, you don't get to decide whether people are going to listen to it in 40 years. You just do it because you can't not do it. Point 13, the hardest thing in the world is to be profound and simple. That's another Bill Withers quote. Here's another one from Bill Withers. If it takes you 4 months to write 4 minutes filled with cliches, something ain't right. It's not a novel. So he gave a lot of wonderful homespun advice. It was absolutely thrilling to hear from him because he is such a legend. And he's an interesting one because he had all these hits and then he stopped. I guess he said what he had to say. There's an art in that too, isn't there? Point 14. To get certain things done, you will need a team and representation. So TV music supervisors, for instance, they said they get everything from their publishers and their song pluggers. They're not getting them from unknowns. So you're really not going to get in the door there. You need a team. Ingrid Michaelson made the point that when you're forming your team, your manager, etc., you have a choice, which is, are you going to go with a big fish and, you'll be just one of many people on a roster and possibly they'll raise you up to a higher level, versus do you want to have somebody smaller who really loves what you do and lives and breathes for you? And she went with the latter choice. Point 15, don't be good, be great. This conference reset my expectation for how good I need to be to get up there and present my songs. Ingrid Michaelson, Her voice was amazeballs. So good. Her presentation, masterful. Her personality, so witty and wonderful. It was one of those rare moments that I've had in my life where I hear somebody so good that I literally want to know, what did you study? What do you drink at the first thing in the morning? What kind of exercises do you do? So, point 16, feed yourself. Judy Stakee talked about feeding your artistic self by how she takes lessons and classes. She schedules weekly writing meetings. You know, she takes incredible good care of her body. She said, "My body is my avatar. Without it, my mind and my soul have no place to live." This is Judy Stakee's book, The Songwriter's Survival Guide, which I bought there, and she autographed for me. She said the old paradigm of the music industry was the legend of Camelot, the castle and the court, and the round table, Knights of the Round Table. And the record company was like a moat around the castle. We now live in a world where the music business and the music industry are two separate entities. I compare this new music business to a sort of spaceship, like the Enterprise from Star Trek. The ship is run with such precision that when a song is fed into it, the mechanism of the ship can swing into action and promote, brand, market, sell, distribute, and collect royalties, all with the touch of a button. The point is that you then are the music industry. You're here to create what you dream of, empower yourself, become this artist. And nobody's going to do that for you. Nobody's going to nurture you the way they used to. I mean, maybe a little bit, but anyway, great book. Point 17, be humble. Songwriting is different from being an artist. It's like being a script writer. It's behind the scenes. Now, of course, some people are both. I'm certainly both, and I love to perform. I love to be a ham, 90% ham, 10% water. I saw a lot more humility than hubris on display. Point 18, this is a quick one. Darrell Brown, he did the critiques in one session, which were really fun to watch, and he said, write at 10 and then back it off. Don't try to creep up from 0. Simple, another way to say swing for the fences. Point 19, you are special. Sevyn Streeter, another super deep, super beautiful singer-songwriter, and she was in girl groups. Now she's written for Chris Brown and Ariana Grande. When she was in girl groups trying to fit in and follow the rules, the thing she wished somebody had said was, "You are special." And that really resonated with me because part of working in a band is that, setting your ego aside. But at the same time, the audience wants you to be a full-out diva. They don't want you to be a shrinking violet. And so it's the balancing act of balancing, on the one hand, those people who are telling you blend in, and be cool, and don't stand out too much. And then at the other time, you really have to have that sort of core nugget of belief that you are absolutely spectacularly authentic. Okay, we've come to the last point. The state of the music industry. This is what No ID said. The state of the music industry is that opportunity is at an all-time high. The amount of music that we have available to us historically, it's unprecedented. We have little tiny computers filled with music at all times. It's incredible. But, he said, now is the time to redevelop what that means. Why is vinyl all of a sudden surging? Is it because we want a product that we can hold in our hands? That's an interesting argument, but then look at movies. Most of us don't see the need to own a movie. So why isn't a song like a movie? Why do we put out albums? He asked this. Why do albums have 10 songs? What is music? Is it just ones and zeros that people are receiving? So these are all just deep questions to start asking, in addition to, of course, advocating for changes in copyright and advocating for the ability to negotiate song payment rates on internet radio and other places. Here's another quote from No ID. I loved him. He was very deep. I'd love to follow him as my personal guru. He said, sometimes your job as a producer is to score this human being in front of you, and sometimes your job is to just disappear in a cloud of steam. So, wrapping up. I came home and the first thing that I did was sit down at the piano and play for several hours. I had been going through a dry spell with piano, and as I sat down and played through all the songs that I have written over the years, I pictured myself playing them for a future ASCAP conference, and I thought, wow, these sound great. And I realized that I was playing piano so fluidly and singing so freely because the well is replenished. And it's so important to do that. And when you run out of things and people and things that inspire you, it's time to go out and find something new. Face your fears. Meet new people. Set the bar higher. Be an advocate. Dare to be an expert. Go deep. And have fun.